October 24th, 1968, midnight. Captain Henry Morrison pilots his B-52 bomber toward Minot Air Force Base when his radar shows something impossible. A red object moving 3 times faster than his aircraft. It's hovering over the nuclear weapons depot beneath his plane. When Morrison opens fire, the object vanishes and reappears at his nose 10 seconds later. What happened that night remained classified for 40 years. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why the Pentagon wanted to keep this file buried forever. The year is 1968. The Cold War is at its peak. The United States and the Soviet Union are locked in a nuclear standoff that could end civilization at any moment. Every day, American bomber crews fly armed patrols along the Soviet border. Every day, Russian submarines prowl the Atlantic and Pacific. Every day, the world teeters on the edge of annihilation. One miscalculation, one technical error, one nervous finger on a trigger. That's all it would take. Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota sits at the heart of America's nuclear deterrent. It's home to 150 Minuteman intercontinental ballistic missiles, each one capable of reaching Moscow in 30 minutes. The base also stores tactical nuclear weapons for the Strategic Air Command Bomber Fleet. B-52 Stratofortress bombers take off and land here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They fly armed patrols along the Soviet border, ready to deliver nuclear payloads if World War III begins. The men stationed at Minot live under constant pressure. They know that one wrong move, one misread signal, one technical malfunction could trigger the apocalypse. Security is absolute. The nuclear weapons depot is surrounded by triple fencing, guard towers, and armed patrols. Motion sensors and cameras monitor every inch of the facility. Nothing gets in or out without authorization. Or so they thought. Captain Henry Morrison is 32 years old. He's been flying B-52s for the Strategic Air Command for 6 years. He's logged over 3,000 flight hours and earned a reputation as one of the most reliable pilots in his squadron. Morrison is calm under pressure, methodical, and by the book. He doesn't believe in UFOs. He doesn't believe in alien spacecraft. He believes in training, procedures, and following orders. Morrison grew up in rural Pennsylvania. His father was a mechanic, his mother a schoolteacher. He joined the Air Force right out of high school in 1954. Flew cargo planes during the tail end of the Korean War. Got his degree in aeronautical engineering through a military scholarship. Married his high school sweetheart, Sarah, in 1959. They have 2 daughters, ages 4 and 6. Morrison keeps their photos taped to his instrument panel. He looks at them before every takeoff, a reminder of what he's protecting. On the night of October 24th, Morrison and his 6-man crew are returning from a routine training mission over Canada. Their B-52 is unarmed, carrying no weapons or live ordnance. It's a standard navigation and instrument training flight. They've been in the air for 7 hours. Everyone is tired. The crew is looking forward to landing, debriefing, and getting some sleep. Morrison's co-pilot, Lieutenant David Weber, sits to his right. Weber is 25, fresh-faced, eager. This is only his 8th mission with Morrison. He's still learning the ropes, still trying to prove himself. Behind them, in the pressurized crew compartment, sit the navigator, bombardier, electronic warfare officer, and radar operator. And in the tail, isolated in his own little pod, sits the gunner. Morrison checks his instruments. Altitude 25,000 feet. Airspeed 420 knots. Fuel levels normal. All systems green. Minot Air Force Base is 40 miles ahead. The night is clear. Visibility unlimited. Temperature outside is minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit. The stars above are so bright they look close enough to touch. Morrison keys his radio microphone. Minot Tower, this is Overlord 2-3. Request landing clearance. Over. The tower responds immediately. The controller's voice is calm, routine. Overlord 2-3, Minot Tower. Cleared to land on runway 26. Winds calm. Visibility 10 miles. Altimeter 3012. Call on final. Over. Morrison acknowledges and begins his descent. He trims the aircraft. Adjust throttle. The B-52 responds smoothly. 8 massive engines purring in harmony. Morrison loves this moment. The end of a long flight. The satisfaction of bringing his crew home safe. He glances at Weber. "How you feeling, Lieutenant?" Weber smiles. "Ready for a beer and a bed, sir." Morrison chuckles. "Aren't we all?" That's when Staff Sergeant Michael Kowalski, the radar operator, calls out from the back of the aircraft. His voice is calm but curious. "Captain, I've got something on scope. Bearing 090, range 12 miles. Speed 900 knots. Altitude 20,000 feet. Morrison frowns. 900 knots is fast. Too fast for a commercial aircraft. Maybe it's a military jet. He keys the intercom. "Tower, Overlord 2-3. Do you have any traffic on our scope?" "Over." The tower takes a moment to check. "Overlord 2-3, negative. No traffic. No scheduled flights in your area. Your scope is clear." "Over." Morrison looks at his own radar display. There it is. A single bright return, moving fast. Very fast. And it's heading straight toward them. Morrison feels his pulse quicken. He keeps his voice steady. "Weber, keep an eye on that contact." Weber nods. He leans forward, squinting at the radar screen. Kowalski's voice comes through again. "Captain, contact now at 8 miles. Still closing. Speed increasing to 1,000 knots. 1,000 knots. That's over 1,100 miles per hour. Faster than any known aircraft in 1968, except for experimental jets like the State Route 71 Blackbird. And those don't operate over North Dakota." Morrison tightens his grip on the controls. His mind races through possibilities. Soviet bomber? No, they don't have anything that fast. Missile? No, the trajectory is wrong. It's maneuvering. Weber spots it first. Out the left window. A bright red light. It's not blinking like a navigation light. It's steady, glowing, pulsing, and it's moving impossibly fast across the night sky. Jesus. "Captain, do you see that?" Morrison turns his head and sees it. His breath catches. The object is keeping pace with him now. Flying parallel. Same altitude. Same heading. Morrison has been flying for 14 years. He's seen fighter jets, helicopters, weather balloons, meteors, satellites, and every type of aircraft the military has. He's never seen anything move like this. And then it does something that makes Morrison's blood run cold. It stops. Instantly. No deceleration. No banking turn. 1 second it's moving at over 1,000 knots. The next second it's hovering in midair. Dead still. As if physics doesn't apply to it. Morrison stares. His rational mind tries to process what he's seeing. But there's no explanation. Nothing in his training covers this. Nothing in any manual he's ever read. Lieutenant Weber's voice is barely a whisper. "Sir, what is that?" Morrison doesn't answer. He can't, because he doesn't know. The object hangs there for 5 seconds. Then it drops, straight down, like a stone. Morrison watches it fall vertically, 5,000 feet in 3 seconds. Then it stops again, hovering, motionless. Now it's directly beneath them, over the nuclear weapons depot. Morrison keys his microphone. His voice is steady but urgent. "Minot Tower, Overlord 2-3. We have an unidentified contact, exhibiting impossible flight characteristics. Visual confirmation." Repeat, visual confirmation. "Contact is now over the weapons depot. Request immediate response." Over. There's a pause. The tower controllers sound confused. "Overlord 2-3, say again?" "We're not showing any traffic on our scope." Over. Morrison feels frustration rising. "Tower, I'm looking at it with my own eyes. So is my entire crew. The object is real. It's right below us. Over the depot. You need to scramble interceptors. Now." Over. Another pause. Then the controller's voice returns, more serious now. "Overlord 2-3, roger. Scrambling interceptors. F-100 SIXS will be airborne in 5 minutes. Hold your position." Over. Morrison acknowledges. He tells his crew to keep watching the object. Lieutenant Weber unbuckles his harness and leans forward, pressing his face against the window. "Sir, it's moving again." Morrison looks down. The object is climbing. Fast. Straight up. Toward his aircraft. Kowalski's voice crackles through the intercom. "Contact climbing. 3,000 feet per second. Collision course." Morrison reacts on instinct. He banks hard right. The B-52 groans under the strain. It's not built for aggressive maneuvers. The massive bomber tilts. Coffee cups slide off surfaces. Pencils roll across navigation tables. Weber grabs the overhead handles to steady himself. The red object shoots past them, so close Morrison can see details. It's not an aircraft. There are no wings, no tail, no exhaust, no visible engines. Just a glowing red sphere, maybe 30 feet in diameter. Smooth surface, perfectly round. No seams, no rivets, no markings. And it's accelerating, climbing faster than anything Morrison has ever seen. Kowalski can barely keep it on his scope. "Sir, contact now at Mach 3, turning back toward us." Mach 3, over 2,000 miles per hour, faster than any fighter jet, faster than most missiles. And it's coming back. Morrison makes a decision. His bomber may be unarmed, but he's not defenseless. The B-52 has a tail gun, a 4-barrel 20mm cannon mounted in the rear turret. It's designed to shoot down enemy fighters. Morrison has never fired it outside of training. But right now, he doesn't care about protocols. He doesn't care about rules of engagement. Something is threatening his aircraft and his crew. He's going to stop it. Morrison keys the intercom. "Sergeant Hayes, track that target. Prepare to fire on my command." In the tail turret, Airman First Class Robert Hayes acknowledges. Hayes is 23 years old, a farm kid from Iowa. He's been a tail gunner for 2 years. He's fired at target sleeves towed by other aircraft. He's fired at balloons. He's never fired at anything real. His hands are shaking, but he does his job. The tail turret swivels. Hydraulics whine. The gun barrels lock onto the red object. Morrison gives the command. "Fire." The cannon roars to life. Tracers streak through the night sky. Bright orange lines cutting through the darkness. The gunner fires in short bursts. 3-second volleys. Standard anti-aircraft procedure. Each burst sends 80 rounds downrange. Morrison watches the tracers race toward the object. They should hit. The range is less than a mile. The target is large and bright. An easy shot, but nothing happens. The tracers pass through empty space. The object is gone. Vanished. Morrison blinks. 1 second it was there. The next second, nothing. Just black sky. His radar operator confirms. "Lost contact. No return." "It's gone, sir." Morrison exhales. His hands are shaking. His heart is pounding. He tells Hayes to cease fire. The cannon falls silent. Morrison scans the sky. Left, right, up, down. Nothing. Maybe it was a hallucination. Maybe it was stress. Maybe it was equipment failure. But 6 other men saw it too, and the radar tracked it. Morrison starts to relax. He resumes his descent toward Minot. The tower is asking for a status report. Morrison opens his mouth to respond, and then he sees it, dead ahead, less than 50 feet from his nose. The red sphere, hovering, motionless, waiting. Morrison jerks back on the controls. Pure reflex. The B-52 pitches up. Alarm scream. Stall warning. Overspeed warning. The aircraft shudders. Morrison fights to keep it stable. His co-pilot is yelling, "Pull up, pull up. Jesus Christ, pull up." The flight engineer's voice cuts through the chaos. "Captain, we're losing hydraulics. Number 3 and 4 engines are surging." Morrison grips the yoke with both hands. He's fighting the aircraft, fighting physics, fighting 800,000 pounds of metal that wants to fall out of the sky. And through the windscreen, he can see the object, close enough to touch. It's just floating there, glowing, pulsing, watching. And then Morrison notices something else, something worse. His instrument panel is going dark. One by one, the lights are blinking out. Navigation systems offline. Communication systems offline. Flight controls sluggish. The electrical system is dying. Lieutenant Weber tries the radio. Dead. Backup radio. Also dead. Emergency transponder. Nothing. They're flying blind. No instruments. No communication. Nowhere to call for help. And the object is still there. Morrison stares at it. For the first time in his life, he feels genuine fear. Not the adrenaline rush of a training exercise. Not the calculated risk of a combat mission. This is primal terror. The fear of something unknown. Something beyond comprehension. Something that violates every law of physics he knows. The object holds position for 10 seconds. 10 seconds that feel like 10 hours. Morrison can't move. Can't speak. Can't think. His crew is silent. Frozen. Waiting. The only sound is the labored whine of the struggling engines and the harsh rasp of their own breathing. And then Morrison sees something on the surface of the object. Symbols. Markings. Not letters or numbers. Something else. Geometric patterns. Triangles. Circles. Lines. They seem to move. Shift. Rearrange themselves. Glowing brighter. Then dimmer. Pulsing in a rhythm that feels deliberate. Intentional. Like a language. Morrison tries to memorize the patterns. Tries to understand. But his mind can't process it. The shapes don't make sense. They hurt to look at. Like trying to see in 4 dimensions. And then, as suddenly as it appeared, the object shoots straight up. Vertical acceleration. So fast Morrison doesn't even see it leave. One moment it's there. The next moment it's a red, disappearing into the stratosphere. And then it's gone. Morrison's instruments flicker back to life. One by one. Navigation. Communication. Flight controls. Everything returns to normal. As if nothing happened. The tower is calling. Frantic. Asking if they're okay. Asking what happened. Morrison doesn't know how to answer. He checks his systems. Everything is functional. No damage. No malfunctions. The engines are purring smoothly. Hydraulics normal. Fuel normal. It's as if the last 3 minutes never happened. Except they did. 7 men witnessed it. 7 men will carry this memory for the rest of their lives. Morrison keys his microphone. His voice is hoarse. Tower, Overlord 2-3. We're okay. Request priority landing. Over. The tower clears him immediately. Morrison brings the B-52 down. His hands are steady now. His training takes over. He lines up on the runway. Deploys landing gear. Reduces throttle. The wheels touch down with a gentle bump. He brakes. The bomber rolls to a stop. Morrison shuts down the engines. The silence is deafening. His crew sits in stunned silence. Nobody speaks. Nobody moves. Finally, Morrison unbuckles his harness. He stands. His legs feel weak. He looks at his crew. They look back at him. They all saw it. They all know what happened. But none of them know what to say. Lieutenant Weber finally breaks the silence. His voice is shaking. "Sir, what the hell was that?" Morrison shakes his head slowly. "I don't know, Lieutenant. I honestly don't know." The moment Morrison and his crew step off the aircraft, they're surrounded by Air Force security. 2 vehicles. 8 armed men. A Colonel Morrison has never seen before. The colonel doesn't introduce himself. He tells Morrison and his crew to follow him. No explanation. No questions. Just follow. They're taken to a secure briefing room in the base operations building. No windows. Soundproof walls. A single table with 7 chairs. The colonel sits. Morrison and his crew remain standing. The colonel gestures to the chairs. "Sit down, gentlemen." They sit. The colonel opens a leather folder. He pulls out a pen. He looks at each man in turn. His eyes are cold. Calculating. Finally, he speaks. "Gentlemen, I need you to tell me exactly what you saw tonight. Start from the beginning. Leave nothing out." Morrison does. He recounts every detail. The radar contact. The impossible speed. The hovering. The gun engagement. The object appearing at his nose. The electrical failure. The symbols. The sudden departure. He speaks for 20 minutes. The colonel takes notes. Asks no questions. When Morrison finishes, the colonel asks the other crew members to confirm. They do. Every man tells the same story. Identical details. No contradictions. The colonel nods slowly. Then he closes his folder. He opens a briefcase and removes a stack of documents. He slides them across the table. 7 non-disclosure agreements. Morrison reads his. It's a standard secrecy oath, but the language is stronger than usual. Unauthorized disclosure of the events described herein may result in prosecution under the Espionage Act of 1917. Maximum penalty, life imprisonment or death. Morrison looks up at the colonel. Sir, what exactly did we see out there? The colonel's expression doesn't change. His voice is flat, emotionless. You didn't see anything, Captain. Equipment malfunction. Radar anomaly. Fatigue-induced hallucination. That's what your official report will say. Morrison feels anger rising. Sir, with all due respect, 6 trained airmen saw the same thing. Radar confirmed it. The electrical systems failed. This wasn't a hallucination. The colonel leans forward. His eyes narrow. Captain, do you understand the situation we're in? We're at the height of the Cold War. The Soviets are looking for any weakness, any crack in our defenses. If word gets out that unidentified objects are flying over our nuclear weapons with impunity, what do you think will happen? Panic. That's what. Congress will demand answers. The press will have a field day. Our enemies will see vulnerability. Is that what you want? Morrison swallows. He understands. This isn't about truth. This is about national security. This is about maintaining the illusion of control. He picks up the pen. He signs the document. So does the rest of his crew. The colonel collects the papers. He stands. Gentlemen, you performed admirably tonight. You followed procedures. You kept your aircraft safe. The Air Force is proud of you. But this incident never happened. You never saw anything unusual. You never fired your weapon. You never experienced electrical failure. If anyone asks, you had a routine training flight. Understood. Morrison and his crew nod. The colonel leaves. The door locks behind him. Morrison looks at his men. They look exhausted, confused, frightened. He tells them to go get some rest. Debrief in the morning. But there is no debrief. The next day, Morrison is informed his flight logs have been amended. The gun camera footage has been classified. The radar data has been erased. It's as if the entire event never happened. Morrison tries to talk to his squadron commander. The commander cuts him off. Says he doesn't want to hear it. Says Morrison should focus on his next mission and forget about last night. Morrison gets the message. He stops asking questions. He never speaks about the incident again. But he never forgets. And neither do the other 6 men who were on that aircraft. For the next 40 years, they carry the secret. Some handle it better than others. Lieutenant Weber develops insomnia, has nightmares about glowing red spheres. Retires from the Air Force in 1972. Kowalski, the radar operator, becomes obsessed with UFO research, collects books, attends conferences, tries to find answers. Hayes, the tail gunner, tells his wife on his deathbed in 2003. She doesn't believe him. And Morrison? Morrison completes his 20-year career, retires in 1976 with full honors, moves to Arizona with his wife, never tells her what he saw, never tells his daughters. He keeps his oath. But every night, when he looks up at the stars, he wonders, what was it? Where did it come from? And why was it interested in our nuclear weapons? For 40 years, the Minot incident remains buried, classified, hidden, until 2008. That's when a researcher named Robert Hastings files a Freedom of Information Act request with the Department of Defense. Hastings has been investigating UFO incidents at nuclear weapons facilities for years. He's heard rumors about Minot, heard whispers from retired airmen. He requests all documents related to unidentified aerial phenomena over Minot Air Force Base between 1960 and 1970. The Air Force responds 6 months later. Most of the files are still classified, but they release a heavily redacted incident report from October 1968. The report confirms everything. 8B, 52 crew encountered an unidentified object exhibiting flight characteristics beyond known technology. The object hovered over the nuclear weapons depot. The crew engaged with gunfire. The object disappeared and reappeared. Electrical systems failed. No explanation was found. The report recommends continued classification, but now it's public. Hastings contacts Morrison, asks if he'll talk. Morrison is 72 years old. The non-disclosure agreement he signed is still legally binding, but Morrison doesn't care anymore. He's old. His wife has Alzheimer's. His daughters are grown with families of their own. What are they going to do? Throw him in prison? He wants people to know. He confirms the story, every detail, and he reveals something he never told the Air Force. When the object was hovering at his nose, he saw symbols on its surface, geometric patterns that seemed to move, shift, rearrange themselves. Morrison says he spent 40 years trying to forget what he saw, but he can't, because whatever that object was, it wasn't human, and it was intelligent. The Minot incident is not isolated. Robert Hastings discovers dozens of similar cases. September 1967, Malmstrom Air Force Base, Montana. A glowing red object hovers over a missile silo. 10 Minuteman missiles simultaneously go offline. No technical explanation. March 1967, another incident at Malmstrom. Security personnel observe a red disc-shaped object. Multiple missile launch facilities lose power. October 1965, Edwards Air Force Base, California. 7 objects tracked on radar over the nuclear test site. December 1980, RAF Bentwaters, England. USAF personnel encounter a triangular craft in Rendlesham Forest near a nuclear weapons storage area. All of these incidents share common elements. UFOs near nuclear facilities, electrical system failures, trained military witnesses, official denials, and years of classified reports. In 2010, Robert Hastings organizes a press conference at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. 7 retired Air Force officers come forward. They testify under oath about UFO incidents at nuclear bases. Captain Henry Morrison is among them. He's 74 now. His hands shake as he reads his prepared statement. He describes the object, the electrical failure, the symbols. He says he doesn't know what it was, but he knows what it wasn't. It wasn't Russian. It wasn't American. It wasn't anything humanity built. The press conference makes headlines for a day. Then it's forgotten, dismissed as conspiracy theory, tabloid nonsense. The Pentagon issues a statement. They acknowledge historical reports of unexplained phenomena, but they maintain there's no evidence of extraterrestrial activity, no threat to national security, no reason for concern. The Minot files remain classified. So what really happened over Minot Air Force Base in 1968? Skeptics offer conventional explanations. Radar malfunction, atmospheric phenomena, ball lightning, the planet Venus, optical illusions caused by stress and fatigue. But these explanations don't account for the facts. Multiple trained observers saw the same object. Radar tracked it. The object performed maneuvers impossible for any known aircraft. It responded to aggression by vanishing and reappearing. It caused electrical systems to fail, and then it left. Some researchers believe the object was extraterrestrial, a probe, a surveillance craft, monitoring humanity's nuclear capabilities, testing our defenses, sending a message. Others think it might be time travelers from our future, coming back to prevent nuclear war, to study the moment when humanity almost destroyed itself. A few suggest interdimensional beings, entities that exist outside our normal space-time, slipping in and out of our reality, observing, interfering, for reasons we can't comprehend. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. Something was in the sky over Minot that night. Something real, something intelligent, something with technology far beyond our own, and something the United States government doesn't want you to know about. Captain Henry Morrison died in 2015 at the age of 79. He never recanted his story, never changed a single detail. His crew members, the ones still alive, confirm everything he said. The radar data is gone. The gun camera footage is still classified. The official reports are redacted beyond recognition, but the witnesses remain, and their testimony is consistent, credible, compelling. The Minot incident is one of hundreds of military UFO encounters documented over the past 70 years. Most remain classified. Some have been reluctantly acknowledged. A few have been explained away, but many, like Minot, remain unexplained. In 2017, the Pentagon admitted to running a secret UFO research program called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. They released 3 videos showing Navy pilots encountering objects with flight characteristics similar to what Morrison described. Sudden acceleration, instant stops, impossible maneuvers. In 2021, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released a report to Congress. It analyzed 144 UFO incidents reported by military personnel between 2004 and 2021. The report concluded that most incidents remain unexplained. It acknowledged that some objects demonstrated advanced technology, and it recommended continued investigation. The Minot files remain classified, but the story is out, and it raises uncomfortable questions. If these objects are real, what are they? Where do they come from? What do they want? And why are they so interested in our nuclear weapons? Perhaps the most unsettling question is this. If they wanted to disable our nuclear arsenal, could they? The Malmstrom incidents suggest yes. 10 missiles went offline simultaneously. No mechanical failure. No human error. Just proximity to an unknown object. If that's true, then humanity's nuclear deterrent, thing that's kept World War III from happening for 70 years, might be meaningless. Because there's something out there with technology so advanced, so far beyond ours, that our most powerful weapons are toys. And that should terrify us. Or maybe it should give us hope. Because whatever was over Minot that night had the opportunity to destroy a B-52 bomber and its crew. It had the ability to trigger World War III by interfering with nuclear weapons. But it didn't. It observed. It responded when attacked. And then it left. Maybe that's the real message. Maybe whoever or whatever operates these objects isn't here to destroy us. Maybe they're here to make sure we don't destroy ourselves. Maybe they've been watching us since we split the atom, since we built bombs capable of ending all life on Earth. Maybe they're waiting, watching, hoping we'll grow up before it's too late. The truth about Minot remains locked in classified files, files that may never be released. But the witnesses are still here, and their story deserves to be heard. Because on October 24th, 1968, something impossible happened in the skies over North Dakota. Something that challenges everything we think we know about reality. And until the Pentagon opens those files, until they tell us the full truth, we're left with questions. Questions that may never be answered, but questions we can't afford to ignore.